Hey Dungeoneers, Luke here, and welcome to a build guide for my Supernova Necromancer Diablo 3 speed farming build. Now this is not a build that's going to be getting you world record greater rift pushes, but if you're looking to just fly around the map and blow up hordes of enemies, doing tons of damage and having a great time, this is the build for you. So stick around, I'm going to explain everything you need, and hopefully you will enjoy. Alright guys, so this is the breakdown that you are going to be needing for the Supernova Necromancer. First, let's talk about skills. On our left click, we have Frailty with the Aura of Frailty. Frailty is a crippling curse that kills enemies at less than 15% health. However, when you have the Aura of Frailty on, it is just an aura that is around you 24/7. This is very important, but it will all make sense as we go farther in. I just have this on my left click. It doesn't really matter where you put it, but that's just where I had a spot for it. Our main ability, Death Nova, Blood Nova. Spend 10% of your life to unleash a Blood Nova that deals 450% weapon damage as physical to all enemies within 25 yards. Boom. It's a pretty big AoE, spends a little bit of life, but it's definitely worth it. And again, you will see why. We have Bone Armor. Bone Armor with Harvest of the Anguish. Bone Armor is for damage because we have a item that'll help us with that. But it's also for movement speed, which is why we're using the Harvest of Anguish rune. Bone Armor increases your movement speed by 1% for every enemy hit. We're sort of lacking movement speed in this build, so that's one of the main ones we have. And we have, again, Devouring Aura. Become an aura that consumes all corpses within 15 yards and restore essence. And again, we're using the aura similar to the Aura of Frailty so that we don't have to activate it. They are just running around our body 24/7. Now, one of the things that this build is lacking is single target damage, so we're rocking Corpse Lance with Ricochet. I had that on to kill some extra additional enemies, but you can definitely run Blood Lance. I don't see an issue with that as well. This is pretty much just for killing Rift bosses and certain elites they don't really want to get near. So the Blood Lance does a lot more damage if you're fighting something really tanky, but you do lose some of your health while you're doing it. Actually, that's the right one. We're going to do that. I just remembered why. And then, of course, Land of the Dead, Frozen Lance. Land of the Dead lets you spam Corpse Lance, and Frozen Lance freezes all the enemies, so that way you could just freeze them and kill them all from a distance. You actually want to be using Blood Lance. I just remembered why. You want to use Blood Lance, boys. Make sure you're doing that. Now for our passives, these are sort of a work in progress. From what I figured out so far, we have Fueled by Death. Consuming a corpse increases your movement speed. Again, we're going to be consuming corpses from this aura. So basically, we're going to have consistent, fully stacked movement speed. Consuming a corpse has a chance to spawn a health globe. This gives us way more health globes because I find survivability is a little bit of an issue, especially with some certain elite combinations. So I like having as many health globes as possible. Of course, if you think of there's something better, let me know in the comment section. We could swap that out. We have Dark Reaping. We are using a scythe, so 2% SS and life per kill. Why not? I was running Final Service at one point as well. If you find yourself dying too often, you could always try and run Final Service. But I found it's just easier to steal life from people rather than do this. Plus, if you're not playing, if you're playing hardcore, definitely use Final Service. But I really, just because of the way this build works, I really wouldn't recommend you play it in hardcore. Anyway. And then last but not least, we have Spreading Malediction. Receive a 1% damage bonus for every enemy afflicted by one of your curses. Of course, we're going to be having a whole bunch of them this way. Now, onto the gear. This is the most important part. First off, we're running a full Trag'Oul set. 6 pieces. For basically one reason, which is the 6-piece set bonus. Your life-spending abilities deal 3,800% increased damage, and your healing from skills is increased by 100%. Because we are using the Blood Nova from Death Nova, it does cost health, meaning we are getting a 3,800% increased damage buff on our Death Nova. This is absolutely fantastic. As you can see, I've rolled a couple Death Nova damages on certain parts of it, and that's really what you want, obviously, because that is our pretty much only damage skill, aside from using Corpse Lance if we're fighting, a Rift boss or something. I got Lacuni Prowlers over here, just because these ones rolled really, really well for me. They did have a 20% physical damage increase, and, physical damage on Blood Nova. It just helped out. And of course, the move speed, again, we're lacking any sort of teleport or blink or anything, so having more move speed is never a bad thing, but these could definitely be swapped out for something better. Now, one of the most important parts of the entire build is the Brig's Wrath. Uncursed enemies are pulled to the target location when a curse is applied to them. That turns you into a walking vacuum. You are going to be sucking all enemies into your area and then blowing them up with Death Nova. And this completely partners with something in the cube. I'll tell you about it in a second. So, and then we have a Crispin Sentence. Deal 1% increased damage against slowed enemies, or triple this bonus against enemies afflicted by other crowd control impairing effects. So, because the enemies that are getting pulled into you are getting slowed due to our Bane of the Trapped, no matter what, you are doing 91% increased damage to enemies near you. And if you were to use Land of the Dead with Frozen, like you're going to be doing on Rift bosses, you're going to be doing triple that, which I don't have the math, but let's say 300% damage to them with that as well. And because Bloodlance is a health spending ability, again, it's going to be doing massive increased damage from your Trag'Oul set. For my weapon, Scythe of the Cycle. Of course, you have to have this. Secondary skills deal 386% increased damage while Bone Armor is active. Now, that's, again, Death Nova is a secondary skill, so again we are amping up our Blood Nova with almost 4 times damage again when Bone Armor is active, and your Bone Armor is going to be active pretty much all the time. So we're going to be using that one. And then Lost Time, this could definitely be swapped out as well. I have this one because it has almost 10% crit chance, and it also has a 14% Death Nova damage increase. Cold skills reduce movement speed of enemies by 30%, and your move speed is increased. So this is going to be, again, partnering with your Bone Armor. You activate it. It's a cold skill, which gives you movement speed, and this also has it so cold skills give you movement speed. So if we activate Bone Armor, we're going to be going a lot faster. And then for the belt, I'm just running a Dainty's Blessing. 49% damage reduction when there is an enemy afflicted by any of your curses. There will always be an enemy afflicted by your curse. So Dainty's Binding makes you way tankier. Again, you could run a damage belt if you really wanted to, but I found survivability was a little bit of an issue. I do not have an issue with damage on this build. I have an issue with survivability, so we're running the Dainty's Blessing. And then I have a Squirt's Necklace just because it had an 18% physical roll, 99% crit damage, intelligence, and then I re-rolled, I think it had vitality, and I re-rolled it into a socket. But again, you could definitely replace this with something better. I just happen to get really, really good rolls on it. Now, the most important part of everything is actually going to be in the cube. So let's go over and take a look here. Blood-Tide Blade. This is what really brings the whole build together because Death Nova is going to deal 400% increased damage for every enemy within 25 yards. How far away is 25 yards? The same distance as your vacuum curses, guys. So what's going to be happening is you are going to be vacuuming enemies into 25 yards. Every enemy is going to give you 400% increased damage extra on your Death Nova. Death Nova is also going to be doing extra damage against all slowed enemies. You are going to be doing additional damage with Bone Armor active. You're going to be doing additional damage because of the life spending. You are basically going to have your damage get spiked up tons of thousands of percents just from using Death Nova because they are nearby. So again, it's just everything is rolling into one. Uncursed enemies are pulled towards you, so you vacuum them all together. Every enemy you vacuum gives you 400% increased damage. You got a Bane of the Trapped on them. They're going to be taking more damage. You're going to be dealing way more damage to them because of that. There is just so much more stuff in here. Every enemy that's vacuumed near you, they're going to be getting cursed. You're going to get 50% damage reduction. It's so crazy how much this stacks. Next, Aquila Cuirass. Above 90% primary resource, all damage taken reduced by 50%. This is basically permanently up. You don't use a lot of essence in this build because you have Devourer running. So you are constantly refilling your essence and you are getting your essence back way faster than you're spending it. So this is almost permanent uptime. So essentially you have 50% damage reduction at all times. So I got the Aquila Cuirass in there. Again, there's a couple other things you could probably put in there. I love the Aquila Cuirass. There's nothing else that really works well, but I'm sure there's something that people have thought of that has some sort of interesting interaction that I haven't thought about. Firewalkers could be kind of cool for a little bit more AoE, you know, just stuff like that, but that's what I am rocking so far. And then again, in the ring slot, I have a Convention of Elements. It rotates through your stuff. Now, Convention of Elements is very good for Necromancer because they only have 3 elements. They have poison, they have cold, and they have physical. So rather than having it like you know, all these things you have to cycle through to get the right one. You get the right one 30% of the time. So it's definitely good. And when it hits that physical damage boost, you can really, really feel it. You could do, for example, a Ring of Royal Grandeur and slot something else in here. I haven't thought of anything yet. I'm still sort of theory crafting this build. But you could always use the Ring of Grandeur. Obsidian Ring of the Zodiac, completely not necessary. There is not anything in here that you really need the cooldown reduced on. You use Corpse Lance and Land of the Dead like maybe once, maybe twice a rift, so I don't really see the need for that. And Bone Armor is up all the time, so don't bother running that. So yeah, I've just been running Convention of Elements. You could probably run like a Hellfire Ring or something if you wanted to, but again, I mean, you could go for something a little bit more defensive, but the only thing I saw in here that really looked good was Brig's Wrath and the Crisbin Sentence, but we have them running. We actually are wearing them, so that's the build, boys. We got ourselves all this stuff here, and basically what it's going to do is it's going to allow us to run around and vacuum in enemies into this sort of cursed circle. I don't know if you can see it on the video here. There's a circle, that's your 25 yards. We're going to run around and we're just going to Blood Nova every single one of them. Now, our essence is going down here pretty quickly, as you can see when we cast it, but when you're actually playing, you're not going to notice that. It is going to be full all the time. So what I'm going to do here, guys, is I'm going to let you go. You can stop listening to me talking, and I'm going to have footage of me running an entire Nephilim Rift with this build, start to finish. You can go ahead and watch that. If the build helps you or you have fun, don't forget to leave a like on the video. If you have an improvement to the build that you might like to see, perhaps, you know, you have something that I didn't necessarily think of and you're like, whoa, this could spike your damage up so much or make you way more survivable, let me know in the comment section down below. And if anything really big happens with this build, I'll make a follow-up video of how we've upgraded it. But outside of that, enjoy the footage and we will see you guys in the next video. Peace out.
That needs to recharge. The night embraces a well-deserved death. Weakness consumes you. That needs to recharge. Decay and rot. Give it more time. more time. This world can abide you no longer. Weakness consumes you. Give it more time. The Rift Guardian has arrived.